To the October 22nd, 2025 Plan Commission agenda meeting. And the first order here I'm going to say is we've got on there under C is public comment. Any public comment will be taken at each of the items that we look at. So we will not be doing open public comment prior to that. Anyway, so we have roll call, please.
Basil?
Yes.
Bazinowski? Washburn?
Aye.
Meyer?
Here. And Ram and Frank are excused, or are they?
I have not heard from, wait, I did hear from Frank a while ago that he was going to be on vacation. That's right, because it changed.
Okay.
Yeah, they're excused.
Chairman?
Yes.
So I had emailed Sam that I have a hard out today based on my messing up my calendar and not being able to change a 2 o'clock doctor appointment. So anything that we need to vote on? Because if I leave, you're only gonna have 3. So
Absolutely.
if
Yeah,
you can
okay.
watch your agenda in that regard, Robin, that
Yeah,
would be great.
most of the items are fairly short and non-controversial, and then a couple of resolutions about right-of-ways. So
Okay.
Okay.
6 looks intimidating, it's not.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. Okay, old business. I need a motion on the September 17th Plan Commission meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve the Plan Commission meeting minutes from September 17th as submitted.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Okay. All right, new business. First on the agenda is ordinance 14-2025, 6617 Washington Avenue, zoning map amendment ZMA 25-09. Robin?
Okay, hello. So the applicant proposed to amend the zoning code for 6625 and 6617 from RL, low density residential, to C2, moderate intensity commercial, in order to expand the business currently operating under a home occupation permit. They had sort of stressed the boundaries of that, and that they needed to convert. Staff, at its own behest and as allowed, has added the other 5 parcels for the same amendment. Those parcels either already contain businesses, 6611, 6533, 6525, or are currently being marketed as commercial, vacant for commercial, 6409 and 6401. Those would be the parcels that are sort of next to the car wash. The 6525 parcel is also currently split zoned, which you can see right here. It's the sort of one that shares the pink and yellow, which is currently prohibited by Mount Pleasant zoning code, so it's kind of an artifact. And that will have that be fixed. The 2035 master plan lists all of these properties as mixed residential commercial, and given their location on a high traffic state trunk highway, staff's opinion is unlikely that any of these properties or that they will have future RL uses or will expand their RL uses. The C2 district accommodates moderate intensity commercial, low intensity manufacturing, and upper story residential. High intensity commercial uses such as drive-throughs, gas stations, and auto repair and car washes are not allowed by right in C2. So it's pretty much zoning it as it has been used for quite some time. I made a slight error in calculation on 6633. I was contacted by that property owner, Dennis Hardy, and he emailed me and Sam about that conversion and was not in favor of it at first. We put up a sign in front of his house and he took it down. And I actually got to talk with him on the phone and then worked it out and told him that his property had been assessed as commercial for 20 years, that the zoning change does not prevent it from being rented out as a house. It's a legal non-conforming until eternity. His taxes wouldn't go up or change at all because I confirmed that with the assessor, whom he knew, and that it could increase the property value if somebody wanted to purchase the property, considering the flexibility and alignment with the future zoning. He withdrew his objection and put the sign up and emailed me and Sam thanking us and welcoming the transparency and professionalism. And so, and definitely said it was a contrast to his previous dealings with planning staff of Mount Pleasant that no longer work here. So, yeah.
Kudos, Robin, kudos. Yeah.
I mean,
To you and Sam.
he wrote a very nice email. It might go in my CV someday, like it was really nice to hear. And the one person that had called me about it and was upset, they flipped the script on it and was like, okay, we're fine. So after I clarified that. So everything
which
else is pretty
parcel
simple.
Which parcels are actually the applicants?
The ones next to Rocky Rococo, 6617 and 6625.
Okay.
They have other licensing requirements beyond this. So those decisions will be in front of the board at a later date.
Okay.
Any questions from the commission?
I have one. The question, I drove by this property, and I don't know what kind of business this is, and I don't know if it generates a lot of traffic or not like that, but I was just wondering, is that gonna create a problem? It's right next to the stoplight by, Rocky or Cocos. Is there any way to connect it, kind of like the, Landmark Credit Union on the other end, and Emerson Road, there's a road behind it that kind of connects with the Rocky, the back end of Rocky or Cocos.
Yeah, so there's actually a potential subdivision that we're in works with talking to the south. It was an abandoned subdivision back in the mid-2000s, and we're finally cleaning up some of the property issues in order to be able to move forward with that again. And that's an issue that would be addressed by that, having a street behind there. The other thing is, such requirements of access and stuff would assume that the building would change, so that they would apply for a new building with commercial parking lot and all those kind of regulations. This would be much like a lot of other homes on our state highways that are converted to businesses. They are operated as small offices, essentially. We have insurance companies working out of them, hairstylists. I think Despin's Plumbing on Newman and Spring is just a house that's been kind of converted over. That's the sort of uses that C2 would envision and allow. Any type of redevelopment beyond that would either really need an upzone or more property. So most of it would be to work with the traffic that exists, which is very low.
So I think I understand Tasha's question, and I think, along Highway 20, if this business were to grow, change, or he would combine it with one of the other lots and expand, he's gonna have to get an access approval from the DOT. And at some point, we may be able to help through planning, drive a rear roadway back into that. And I would applaud that if it happens, but it seems to me that the Department of Transportation is gonna have the most to say about it, about their accesses and whether they can
There is one
expand their business and still keep that access.
There's one consideration that I would love to hear if any thoughts on, is that the connection of Sunny Slope right there, that, speaking of previous community development administrations, they wanted that to be turned into a cul-de-sac like it is. Our thought is, if that subdivision were to develop, we would want that to connect. And it's right next to the Quick Trip. I don't think they would ever deny being another corner or through traffic by them. And I've even spoken to Rocky Rococo's about it. They have concerns about some setbacks and stacking, but no concerns about the access portion of it. That would kind of lead to an availability for a back access, like you were speaking of, so.
Yeah, and I think that's my question as well, as regards to that access off of 20, because those are just driveways now. And they're just small businesses that run out of those. Had it, like I said, if somebody develops something more substantial there, they're gonna have to widen that ingress and egress.
And I would think it would be harder.
And the DOT is gonna have to have a say in that, I would think.
I would think it would be harder to get access on Highway 20 than it would
Right.
just right behind it.
Or,
Yeah,
if
assuming all the-
Crossy's been, agreement with the neighbors.
All the property,
What I'm saying is that we're gonna be giving approval for them to develop a different type of business on those properties. And do we have to get that okay from the DOT for a roadways? I mean, Sam,
No.
no?
No, the DOT will give that,
The only time the DOT would be involved is if the access changes. They're trying to add road connections to 20, or provide road connections in a different way that affects 20. But barring that, we wouldn't even contact them for a change in tenant or anything else.
But if somebody's gonna be bringing a business in there, those driveways are gonna be inadequate to supply in and out off of Highway 20, and then we're gonna have to go back to the DOT to be able to widen those entranceways, correct?
Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the user and the business. I mean, a typical driveway could be, single direction, 10 to 12 feet, double direction, 20 to 24 feet. Most driveway connections are that size for residential driveways. So if it is slightly undersized, it'll probably function fine if it's a low-traffic business. The only time it would be an issue is if it were a higher trafficked business, like a car wash or something, which are, most drive-through uses are prohibited in the C2 districts that we're recommending.
Right.
So I think we're trying to kind of thread the needle there of, potential uses that would be allowed to operate by right under this zoning are typically ones that won't generate enough traffic to be a concern on either the driveway accesses or needing to reach out to the DOT.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and a lot of these, situations, they are already being used for commercial uses, such as the split zone property, and marketed as that by the 2 vacant properties and the 6400 block. And those are next to car wash, which we've gotten complaints about. So that's why it was key to mention that C2 does not allow those.
All right. All right, before we take a call, any comments from the audience at all? Nothing? Okay, then I look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve ordinance 14-2025, 6617 Washington Avenue zoning map amendment to ZMA-25.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
09, that's
I'm sorry?
ZMA
25.
25-09.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Right. Next up is 1501 Meadow Lane Avenue Certified Survey Map, CSM 25-08. Sam?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant applied to divide the property into 2 lots. The division removes a double frontage lot, and the new lot configuration matches the lots both north and south of the subject property. Staff recommend 5 conditions of approval. 1, the applicant shall update the map to dedicate 40 feet to the public for the South Emerson Road right-of-way. Per the Village Comprehensive Plan, South Emerson Road is a collector street, not a local street, so it's slightly wider right-of-way. 2, the applicant shall update the map to show all the utilities underneath, which we require for new lots, just to so that they can be served by public utilities. That's a pretty technical map cleanup. 3, the applicant shall update the village's signature area to match the current clerk, Jill. 4, they'll need to construct a concrete sidewalk or asphalt path on one side of all frontage streets or on one of both sides of other streets within the land division. Mainly, the new... We can get into that in a sec. Well, I'll just round back to that one. And
Sidewalks. I
yeah,
love
sidewalks.
sidewalks.
And then 5, they'll need to plant street trees of a species approved by you all, which is subsequently in our ordinance as well, along the frontage for every 50 feet of frontage. So these lots will just need a couple trees. I think the main issue out here is sidewalks. You all have the power under land divisions to waive the requirement for sidewalks, as we talked about last month. If you choose to do so, we think it would be reasonable on the Meadow Lane side because there are no connecting sidewalks and none within, even a few hundred feet. But I would recommend that we continue to have them on the South Emerson Road side. They're only a property away from a sidewalk connection that goes through the reconstructed roundabout on 16th Street. So that one is, within 100 feet of a connecting sidewalk. I think I would recommend that the Plan Commission keep the requirement for the sidewalk on the Emerson Road side. That side also would be the vacant lot. And so the zoning would also trigger the sidewalk requirement when they build a new house. So we think that's why it makes sense on that side. But if you get rid of it on the, we'll take one on the Meadow Lane side, but if you get rid of it, we won't lose sleep. And that is it. Otherwise, it complies with all the land use ordinances and regulations. Yeah, to Robin's point, it gets more legal. Getting rid of a double frontage lot is nice.
Well, I agree on that. I think that's really smart of them to do that, particularly if they have the intent. I don't know if they're here to sell the other one. There's a huge demand for single-family lots, so they've created a lot of value here, I think.
Yeah, you can see the physical performance is not great because, we have some low-density uses along Emerson Road, which is a collector street, so that side doesn't perform as well, but it does perform better than it does now because we're adding an additional house. So over twice as good as it does. It's, we typically try to require a little bit more density, but in this case, we'll take what we can get, and I think they're going in the right direction.
Well, exactly, and to divide this any further would be, it would not fit into the neighborhood. I mean, it just would make no sense. So
Exactly.
it's a nice big lot, which someone will appreciate someday.
Yep, so no other issues. I would just need the motion and then clarification on which side that you'd like to require sidewalks or any other amendments to the recommended conditions.
Question,
Comment,
Claire?
the
Go ahead.
street, the property then directly south of the subject parcel has no sidewalk, but the one then more adjacent to that to the south does. So is there some vehicle by which we can get those, at least those 3 lots to all have sidewalk? Or are we gonna have sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk?
For the short term, that's what it will be, but the village actually has a sidewalk replacement fund, and when people do pay the in lieu of fee funds to the Public Works Sidewalk Fund, that has some money in it, because we've had a couple people do that. So I think this is a really prime candidate to spend, a couple grand to make that connection, just, less than 100 feet southwards.
I'd look forward to that. It'd be helpful.
Yeah, and the right-of-ways out there, because, when they did the 16th Street roundabout, they kind of cleaned up some of the right-of-way near that roundabout, so I think it should be a pretty easy, just, I can talk to the Public Works Director if this gets approved by the village board, and I think we can get that sidewalk in as part of the paving program next year pretty easily.
I think that'd be great.
Is that something we should put in a motion? In other words, to recommend that staff?
No, because it's an offsite improvement, so it doesn't relate to the land division at hand. I think we'll just take that as a note, kind of from you all to staff, but it doesn't need to be part of the motion.
Okay. All right, well, I would make a motion to approve the certified survey map CSM 25-08 for 1501 Meadow Lane Avenue, subject to removing the requirement for sidewalk on Meadow Lane, but keeping the sidewalk requirement on Emerson Road.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Before I take the vote, is there anybody in the audience that has anything to say about this? If not, okay, we have the motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Got it. Thanks, Robin.
Okay. Moving on. Item number 3, 6611 Spring Street, Certified Survey Map CSM 25-09. And Sam is still up there.
Yes. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the application proposed splitting the existing lot into 6 lots and 2 outlots. Lots 1 through 4 would be available for development under the existing RM zoning district guidelines, which set a minimum of 9 units per net acre. Lot 5 contains the existing Aurora Medical Clinic, and Lot 6 provides shared access to the western lots. Outlot 1 contains extra land, and Outlot 2 contains a stormwater pond that serves the site. The staff recommends that the Plan Commission move to approve subject to 4 conditions of approval. 1, the applicant shall modify the map to merge Outlot 1 with Lot 1. 2, the applicant shall modify the map to change properties zoned RL1 to RL and RM2 to RM. That's just a designation cleanup on the face of the map. 3, the applicant shall modify the map to add the existing zoning within the proposed land division. They added the extra territory around it, but not internal. And then finally, 4, the applicant shall add the utility information that we previously called out, which they can get from the Public Works Director. So those are our recommendations for approval. You can see in the fiscal analysis attached that this thing performs pretty well above all our target financial figures and ratios. Particularly, this is a low estimate because we just use the minimum density per the zoning district. If they go in above that, it would likely perform even better. So this is a really nice infill project along a, arterial street in the village to add a little bit of density, but still complying with the existing zoning. So we really like to encourage these types of projects. I think the only additional note, and it shouldn't hold up your recommendation, but something that we wanted to talk about is it's a little bit of an odd map when you look at it, particularly Lot 6, that shared access roadway. In large part, that's because some of the zoning district guidelines set a maximum lot size of an acre. And so they're not able to pick up some of the ancillary parking for lots 3 and 4 without kind of subdividing that and creating that tooth pattern that you see there. So while we don't have an issue, and I don't think any of these lots are technically illegal under our code, it's certainly not our intent of this is how land divisions would look like when they come in, right? Like the idea is that you subdivide lots and then you design buildings to those lots. And this is trying to kind of merge those processes together. So I just wanted to call it out in that we've had a lot of internal discussions about it, and we're likely going to come back to the commission with some updates to the recently adopted residential guidelines. I think this was a really good test of how some of those are working. And while I think the project, when it's all said and done, would look pretty nice when it's finished. In the meantime, I think we owe you some updates and perhaps some reconfigurations of some of those lot sizes and things to clean up what these maps will look like in the future. So again, we recommend approval with those conditions, and we'll be back with some cleanup as we typically do. Can answer any questions. And the applicants here.
Where's the access point for lots 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4?
It'll be across lot 6, which there's a shared access there already.
Yeah, 'cause 6 doesn't go all the way to 1.
It goes all the way to Sunny Slope.
Oh, yeah, there will be some shared access across lot 2 and 1 as well. Mostly across lot 2 and outlot 2.
I may have you may have covered it, and I was thinking of something else, but how is that ownership, has the applicant given you any idea who's going to own lot 6 and how it's going to be managed?
Lot 6, I'll let the applicant answer that. Ownership is their negotiation between all the lots, so they can talk about it. Our assumption is that it would be shared ownership with lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they can speak to those negotiations directly.
Okay, I guess another possibility would be to let those lot lines go all the way to the rear as much as they can, up to outlot 2? Or does that make them too large?
It makes them too large, which is why we need to update the zoning, why I called that out. So it's our own rules, and we always try to be self-reflective. So we'll fix it. We don't want to hold this one up because they have an offer to purchase, and we think this is a nice infill project. And honestly, when it's all said and done, you won't notice the lot lines really when you're out on the site.
No.
But I think there are some easy fixes that we can do that would have made this map look a lot more reasonable without changing the development. So, yeah, we can find some relief valves for applicants there to get these things a little bit cleaner.
Good.
Notably, the applicant hired, Pinnacle for the map, but also they've submitted some draft building plans, site plans to us from Rinka, pretty good architecture firm. So, we appreciate them willing to kind of work with us as staff through the process. It's not someone trying to just get it in as easy as possible. They really took a lot of time to try to understand the code and the limitations, and it just ended up that this is what that looks like. So.
Yeah, I appreciate seeing these proposed development plan. It's helpful in looking at the survey.
Yeah. So, any other questions for me?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
in regards to why 4 lot, or why the division of the lots and why not one? If it's going to be a single development, or is it going to be sold as individual lots and then different buildings put on by different developers?
it's 4 different buildings, and so generally they're required by our ordinance to have 4 separate lots for those individual buildings, and that was a change we made for residential projects to have 1 building per lot to try to encourage better land division design. Obviously, in this case, there's room for improvement, but the long-term goal is for us to have a more orderly, like lot and block development. So even though they might be owned by the same developer and have some shared ponding or other things, it would make it more flexible in the future if they ever decided to sell one of the buildings. They could do that without selling the other 3, or they could. The other relief valve that we have under the ordinance is they could have condo platted it instead, but they would have still had to meet these lot guidelines. So it was quicker for them to do a CSM, and frankly, I think it was a better test of our own rules. So,
Well, and then we also received, technically a lighting and a tree plan submitted, but why isn't that coming with a site plan?
because residential developments are reviewed at the staff level, but the lot or the land division requirements require lighting and landscaping. So the street trees and the public street lights are something that you all can, by ordinance, review as part of the land division. Really just in relation to what fronts the public streets.
But we don't have anything here that shows any kind of a layout of the buildings. I mean, it's sketchy at best on the drawings as far as what the buildings are.
Yeah, we haven't received a site plan application. Again, that's by ordinance reviewed at the staff level.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that they would split the lots and then apply for individual site plan review for each of the individual buildings on each of the individual lots.
Is the property line photometric site plan that we do have, I see some faint outlines of buildings, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
But again,
That's what I was
that's
referring
not
to.
subject to your review, so I want to be
But
very
so-
clear.
So,
that, yeah.
but to review a lighting or, that kind of plan doesn't make any sense if we don't know what the buildings are. That's-
Just in relation to, they gave you everything,
Yeah.
but the only thing that the land division ordinance cares about is the public streetlights and the public street trees in the right of way. So they're adding
Okay.
street trees along Spring Street,
Right.
and they're adding, the only lamp in that lighting plan that you really care about is the one at Sunny Slope, because that's where it's required by the land division ordinance. Everything else they gave you is just extra info.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'd like to hear from the developer if we can.
Go for it.
That'd be perfect. Looks like. Name and address, please.
Lee Jaramillo, North Terra Real Estate Group, 5226 Clover Lane, Caledonia, just on the other side. I'm a co-developer with Impact 7. I'll let Carol introduce herself. And then I think it's best that we have Rinka talk a little bit more about the lot lines. This is sort of, we're sort of the guinea pig project. Can I say it that way? And we did everything that we were required to do under the new guidelines. So this is sort of a new trial. We would prefer to have one big square lot, but we're trying to adhere to the rules here. So, Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol Keene. I'm with Impact 7 Real Estate Group, 2965 Decker Drive, Rice Lake, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Jess Timmer, the architect with Rinka. Our address 756 North Milwaukee Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Happy to answer any questions you have. I think this is a little bit of a first-time process for all of us, of having to subdivide, you know, because we have 4 different buildings, instead of approaching it with one single lot, it's literally subdividing each lot to make sure each building meets all of your zoning requirements on a, you know, individual basis, and that they can stand on their own. So they're meeting the maximum lot size of the acre, the parking requirements, the open space, the minimum density per acre requirement, which I think is 9, but we'll exceed it on some of the lots, which is good. And literally kind of testing the zoning code as written, which you guys just updated, I think, in the last 6 months or a year or so. But Sam's been super helpful, informative. We walked through the entire process. I think the plan for this is going to be great in terms of bringing more units that are, you know, badly needed in the area. That's going to be still a high quality architecture with a mix of scales. We're happy to tell you a bit about the buildings if you want to know more, even though I know it's not maybe subject to your purview. So there'll be 2 of the buildings will be single story, sort of what we call a cottage style. So individual units on ground level with attached garages. And then the other 2 buildings will be kind of what we call a garden style. So 2 stories, also with some attached garages, some with detached garages. There'll also be bike parking on site. And then there'll be a clubhouse, an amenity that's shared across them. And then one of the outlets is the stormwater management and the bioretention pond.
Part of the preliminary site planning is we did this in conjunction with Aurora, trying to be good neighbors with them and discussing, and Jackie's here, sort of on their behalf, is to do something tasteful next door, basically. Instead of having some, we probably could have went much denser for what we're thinking. Obviously, we're still moving around with the site planning, but we wanted to be good neighbors and do something tasteful in the area. One question you guys had was lot 6. Is that lot 6? That is part of our purchase agreement with Aurora. So we had to incorporate that as part of the purchase of the development. And so that's why it looks a little funky, because we will then now be in charge of sort of that easement coming into the overall development. That's why it looks a little funky, but that was part of the purchase and sale agreement of this property, of this 5 acres. You guys have any other questions? We could knock out the site planning right now today if you want, and just stamp it and be done with it.
Well, I see one thing, it's called Pike Creek Commons, is that what it's, so it is a one development, is that what it's called?
It is one development, yes.
Okay. That was my main concern when I saw the lots, is like, wait a minute, now you're not, this is really gonna, and then you also mentioned you're gonna have a clubhouse.
Right.
Which is key to that, it's actually a development, a single development.
Exactly. And it looks funky. When you look at it, you're like, holy cow, I don't want to see that in my community. But obviously, you won't see the lot lines, but it's just part of the new code that we had to follow here.
I mentioned that lot 6 looks like one of those old wooden horsies with the horse on a stick that you would jump around, so I just call it the horsey lot.
The horsey lot.
Yeah.
Horsey lot commons.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll change that.
Oh, I like that name.
Just to comment, even though it's not subject to our review, I think what I'm hearing is it'd be wonderful to be able to see plans and elevations just to give it some context if it's not forbidden by our code.
I want to be extremely careful about that. I understand that the Plan Commission would like to see that. However, anytime state law requires that if they submit something and it complies with it, we have no option for residential development but to approve it. You have no legal leeway to deny a residential development that otherwise meets the zoning code. So while we'll try to provide you more information about that, we're trying to dance very carefully about not setting expectations for something that you don't have any say over.
I think that when we made that change to the code, that was an area where we had a discussion about it, and we weren't real happy about it. The Plan Commission there was a review being taken away from us that historically had been in the Plan Commission's hand and had given us the opportunity to weigh in on some of these questions we're having, and to not be in a position where we had items before us to approve that we couldn't envision how they were going to function. So I think that is a reasonable request, and yet I understand Sam's point.
Yeah, I mean, we're not
Bound
trying
by
to
that.
withhold information from you by any means. We're just trying to make it very clear about what you actually, by statute have the authority to approve or deny. That's why we've made this focus to more land division that's created this whole kind of downstream effect. I think that was due to a change in state statute. So we're just, trying to
Right, we
keep
did-
up on that in a way. Frankly, I'm just going to blame other communities because we're perfect here. But, the state legislature changed that law purely because a lot of communities were just denying things that they otherwise should have approved by right and zoning. So
Right.
they kind of took away the toy from the toy box because there were some naughty children in other areas. So unfortunately, we're having to adapt to it. Yeah, they ruined it for everyone. So I'm just going to blame other people because, again, we're doing our best here. But we'll try to provide you more information or a little bit more context to help you envision what's going on these lots in the future while still making it clear what you're actually voting on.
Even if it's outside of the submittal, if it's just over here somewhere. where
Sure.
You just have something to look at.
Yeah, or part of the presentation or something. It's a fair note.
And I agree that we lost the control of that. However, the developers likely in that, they see the public input from the adjoining neighborhoods. And when you're open with that, and you, even though we might not be able to control it, we can at least say, hey, have you thought about doing this? Putting a berm here, putting extra trees here, yada, yada, to mask some of the stuff. They don't have to do it, but I think it's intuitive to the village that we say, hey, we care about what it looks like. It's a very, obviously open spot, and everybody's gonna go, what's going on there, you
Yeah.
know? And I think it would be nice for people, the neighborhood, to know that, hey, it's gonna be a quality built, housing project.
I just want to add in, if it brings in like access and circulation and stuff like that, and if the buildings being put on them makes that difference, that certainly comes under the purview of a lot split and what your review can be about. And you could be able to say, well, on lot 2, the building's facing the wrong way, where, this is how it should align for better access. That would go under this purview and something that you can review, I think. But, you wouldn't require.
Okay, now we have staff conflicting with each other.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
it
not
could
to
relate.
rush us along, but we have 3 other items that absolutely need to get voted on tonight. So if we could call the vote, unless you have any other questions pertinent to the land division itself.
I do, if I might. My question is, first of all, these are rental properties, are they not?
Yes.
Okay. So my question has to do with the 45-foot access. In other words, I thought that under our code, anything being subdivided had to front onto a public right-of-way that met our right-of-way standards of 66 feet.
Not if they have shared private access.
Okay. Number 2, my comment is, I would prefer to see this as a condominium plat, because in your review, some of the comments you made were if they want to sell off a building, if they want to sell off a part of the project. I think this bodes much better for some kind of a condo plat and overall site plan, because in my mind, it would be ridiculous to sell off any part of this in a piecemeal basis, because you do have a clubhouse, you do have different types of units, and, in my mind, it's one project that should not be sold off in pieces. So I would certainly promote, again, you're talking about, we're still working with the code, we're still trying to figure out where it works and doesn't work, but I think in this case, it certainly would have made sense to come in with it platted as one project.
The setbacks still would have applied, so I think
I
it's,
understand. Well,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's right. That's really what we would be concerned about.
Yeah.
And looking down the road 20, 30 years, if one of these buildings were sold and it began to deteriorate over time, it reflects poorly on the others as well.
Sure.
So treating it as one development, I think, has some advantages from streetscape, from value to the residents as they drive by, the value to the residents who remain in the undilapidated buildings. So I think there is.
We'll look at the ownership stuff
I think there's
for
good
future
reason
ordinance.
to maintain
updates.
it as a single development.
So having said that, because of the way our code is written, I'm not sure that we could force that request on the applicant. I think we could suggest it, and if they want to come back to us at a later time and with some different methodology, that would be fine. But in the meantime, I will make a motion to approve the certified survey map 2509 at 6611 Spring Street.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other comments from the audience? Nobody here? Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good luck. It'll be nice to fill that in.
Be interesting to see the minutes for this meeting.
You can talk to Brandy about that.
Okay, item number 4, 5312 Spring Street, certified survey map, CSM 25-10.
Mr. Chair, the applicant proposed splitting the existing lot into 2 lots. Parcel 1 contains an existing detached house, and parcel 2 would be a new developable lot. Staff recommends a motion to recommend approval to the village board subject to 8 conditions. 1, applicant shall obtain approval from the Racine County Department of Public Works for any additional driveway connections to Spring Street, which is also County Trunk Highway C. Upon review, I did send this over to the county, and they said they would not grant an additional driveway access. So instead, I'd like to amend condition 1 to say the applicant will need to update the map to show cross-shared access between lots 2 and 1.
Oh, wow, that's gonna be tough.
It will be very tough, but
That's too bad.
a pretty black and white answer from the county. They said it doesn't meet their adopted width for access standard requirements anymore along the county highway. So I don't think they'll get one. They could try to apply for some sort of variance from the county or whatever the county's, approval process is, but that's between them and the county. I think in the meantime, to allow a developable lot, we have to force that shared access.
Yeah, but the way their house is turned, they can't even put them side by side.
And maybe they can work with the county to relocate an existing driveway and bend it and still do it. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit iffy either way. But again,
Wow.
yeah, that's tough. But marching on. Number 2, the applicant shall remove county signature line from the plat. Number 3, the applicant shall update the map to include the data drafting. 4, the applicant shall update the map to include the existing zone within and adjacent to the proposed land division. 5, applicant shall update the map to show the minimum lot area required by the zoning district in which the land division is located. 6, applicant shall update the map to show utilities. 7, they'll construct a concrete sidewalk or asphalt path adjacent to the land division unless waived by the Racine County Department of Public Works. My guess is the county will not allow a sidewalk in that because they have not in other places. So I'm assuming the county is going to say no sidewalk. And then number 8, the subdivider shall plant street trees of a species approved by the Plan Commission and Village per the ordinance. So really pretty standard, just kind of some technical map information that we want to see on there before it's recorded, except for that shared access requirement, which we don't have a lot of control over. So
That might just kill the project.
I wouldn't doubt it, but
Yeah,
at least
go
we're
across the
not
whole
killing
front
the
of his house.
project. So we're doing everything we can to make it, viable.
It's going to go across the whole front of his house. Oh, well.
Yeah, if they wanted to do it, it might be a situation where both lots are a tear down, rebuild kind of thing or something. Yeah,
Yeah, they don't live there.
so
Yeah.
maybe that's it. We certainly like, people trying to add some value and some housing to the village, so we're not opposed to the use or anything else. It's just we don't control the access, and there's no rear access or anything else available in that area. So it's pretty limited. If they want to try to get a variance from Racine County, good luck.
Well, I think that would be my caution to them, because once they record the CSM, the land division is done, and their second lot's gonna be taxable as a developed lot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why
they
I
would
want to
be
see it as a
smart to make
condition.
sure-
Yeah, before we record it, I want to see some sort of approval from Racine County. so-
Otherwise, it's superfluous.
Yeah, and honestly, if it is a single access point and the county doesn't allow it, we would prefer it stay a single parcel, because then you could theoretically upzone it into something, like a 6-unit building or something that better utilizes the land there while still adds some density. So generally, it's not our favorite to add these single homes along busy highways. As the rezone that Robin spoke to first is kind of moving us away from that. So, it's, again, trying to balance some needs and wants here, but.
All
Yeah.
right, well, I'll make a motion to approve certified survey map CSM 25-10 for 5312 Spring Street, subject to the conditions noted by staff.
Okay, do we need to word that in there in regards to the county again?
Yeah, I would
Sure.
just, as a friendly note, say, subject to either getting approval for a secondary access drive as the condition is currently worded, or getting a shared access, updating the map to show shared access between lot 1 and 2. They can do either or.
All right, I'll recommend adding that additional language to my motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Nobody here, so there's nobody from the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, resolution 11-2025.
A couple easy ones here to wrap it up. Both are the same, so both are going through the discontinuance process, which is a lengthy one by the Wisconsin statutes. The village board introduced a resolution. We post some public hearing notices, and then the plan commission has to make a recommendation on these. The first one is a public walk that was platted but never improved. So there is just kind of a random strip of land that runs between these 4 properties. They would like it removed. They've been maintaining it the entire time, and again, the sidewalk was never constructed at the time of platting. So it's kind of an extra land to nowhere that they're already maintaining. So we have no issue with discontinuing it. These are all 4 of the property owners are the only property owners adjoining this public walk, so there's no one else affected by this. It doesn't extend east or west at all.
Yeah, these, Mr. Chairman, these were part of the discussion we had over the subdivision that's being built to the west of them off of Brown Road. And there's no connectivity from that subdivision. So we agreed at the board level, and I think in discussion, that that was not a problem, and that way they won't have to worry about people walking through their yards indiscriminately anymore, and so forth. Give them some additional land and privacy.
Yep.
And there's no access to anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's not going
Going
anywhere.
back into other private lands.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, based on the plats that were approved. So I would make a motion to approve Resolution 11-2025 for vacating the public way.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right.
Last one, number 6, Resolution 10-2025, discontinuation of portion of Megan's Way.
So same thing here, discontinuance. When they constructed Megan's Way, due to the approved site plan, they actually bent the road a little bit further north than it was originally platted. So they just need to remove this kind of sliver from it to the south and clean up to get the final right-of-way. There's not a road or anything else here. It's just kind of extra land. So again, we'd look for your recommendation to approve.
Yeah, 1,100 square feet. The tax bills over there are gonna be hard to deal with now. I'll make a motion to approve the Resolution 10-2025, discontinuing a portion of Megan's Way. We discussed this a while back. I remember this, I don't know if it was at the board level or where, but I know this, we saw this coming, yeah. So,
Yeah, and both of these will be on the first meeting in November for final action.
so I made a motion.
Okay, any other questions? Anybody?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes.
And the
All
one
right.
thing I asked Sam to add to the agenda, I apologize for not being able to listen to it, but I will get on the,
Yeah, well, without a quorum, we can no longer meet, so I would just, for the staff, we'll hand out, I printed out an explainer from the League of
Okay.
Municipalities. We can talk about it at the next meeting for a more thorough update, but for now, I gave you guys some reading materials, so you're at least up to speed on where the proposed bills are at in the Wisconsin legislature.
So then we're just up for a last motion then, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second that.
You got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.
Is there anything else I was supposed to add to that?
No?
Okay.